Hello friends, this is Growl. I've gotten the chance to play Mistweaver and some keys on beta, and I'll go over my thoughts on how the class feels, what the important changes are with you guys today. Mistweaver feels very similar to live. I think they stayed pretty true to the playstyle, and there's just a few small tweaks here or there. Keep in mind there's no legendaries for Mistweaver yet, so hopefully when they add those it'll be a nice splash of flavor to the class and make it feel new and exciting. I'm not really going to focus too much on tuning or how one thing compares to another, since those things can and will be adjusted many times until the game's release. Instead, I'm just going to focus on the changes, how stuff feels, and let you guys decide if the class feels right for you. First, let's talk about the important skill changes. There are a few balance changes with skills here and there, but I'm not going to include numbers tweaks since, like I said, they're likely to change so much between now and release. The first thing I want to talk about is Expel Harm. Expel Harm is now baseline for Monk. Maybe I don't fully understand the spell or it hasn't been tuned, but it looks pretty underwhelming to me. If you can cast it while you're channeling Soothing Mist, it affects both you and your target, but even then the damage and healing is pretty low compared to other spells. I'd like to see some tuning to this, especially a mana cost reduction since it doesn't feel like it's worth the mana. Two small changes are the leg sweep distance got increased from 5 to 6 yards. Not a big change, but it's still nice. A bigger change, but still small, is the movement speed increase on Provoke has been removed. I don't know if it's just for Mistweaver or for all monks, but this is certainly nice for Mistweaver since there are many times that you want to taunt, but you're scared to taunt because you don't want the mob to come barreling at you and kill you. This way you can actually use your taunt for utility and you don't have to worry about dying. The last change for Monk that I wanted to talk about is Touch of Death. This is my favorite change so far. When I first read the skill, I didn't think I would like it that much. You instantly kill a creature if it has less health than you and it's got a 3-minute cooldown, but you have to keep in mind that you have 21,000 health, and for example, Rising Sun Kick does less than 2,000 damage. So if you get a full value Touch of Death, you're doing close to 11 Rising Sun Kicks worth of damage in one spell, which feels really, really good. It looks good on the meters, and it totally feels good to use in game. Another Mistweaver specific change is they've added Yu'lon the Jade Serpent. This plays very similar to the talent Chi-Ji in BFA. You summon a dragon dude, he flies around and heals people. It's not super impactful. That talent road didn't get chosen that much, but at the same time it's nice to have a little mini cooldown alongside your revival, just to help boost your healing a little bit in situations where you may fall behind. Now I want to talk about the talent tree. The talent tree, you'll notice, is very, very similar to BFA. I would like to have seen maybe a few new interesting choices, but at the same time I felt like Mistweaver talents were in a pretty good place and that they did see a lot of uses in a lot of different formats. The one big change is since Chi-Ji is now Yu'lon, the new Chi-Ji is essentially Way of the Crane. It reads, for 25 seconds, you are immune to movement impairing effects, and your physical damage increase and the damage you deal heals nearby allies. I'm not sure, it doesn't seem like they've fully balanced this yet, or I'm not sure where they're going with this because the tooltip says 25 seconds, also says no mana cost. However, when you press it, you'll see here, it actually only lasts 15 seconds and it also still costs mana. So I can't tell if they're going in that direction where they want to reduce the mana cost or maybe increase the duration or something to make it a little more viable or fit in more. I think it should go in that direction, but no mana cost 25-second duration might be taking it a bit too far. Although I think it's really nice on this talent row. This is a great choice between constant AoE healing, maybe you have burst AoE healing and some more damage, and then the single target efficiency here. But besides that, there's not really too much that has changed in the talent tree. So for this character, I decided to choose Kyrian. I'm not totally sure what's best. I just wanted to try all the different healer abilities and learn all the different covenants and see what's going on. My goal is, once the game is close to release, come out with an updated guide as to what covenants are looking best for what classes, but for now I'm just kind of showing off some of the new abilities. So the Kyrian ability summons this little owl dude, and he walks over and brings you Hellstones, as well as some like weird flavor things. So these Hellstones, which are the actual Kyrian ability, restore health, also remove disease, poison, curse, and bleeds, which is completely insane for certain mechanics. There are no raid fights released yet, but I can imagine this being really, really strong in specific raid fights, or dungeon fights, being able to take a bleed or a curse that you otherwise couldn't normally remove, and then just using this. You could even like have a full team or lots of Kyrians to completely negate certain mechanics by just pressing this. The other thing in that Mistweaver gets, this is the Mistweaver specific spell, is Weapons of Order. For 30 seconds, your mastery is increased. Essence Font does a burst of healing at the start and the end of the channel during your Weapons of Order. So it lasts 30 seconds, so that means you can fit in 3 Essence Fonts in the duration. And to put it into context, Revival heals for 3,050. So this burst of healing, that's healing at the beginning and the end of Essence Font, is healing more than a Revival. So if you get 3 Essence Fonts in, you're essentially getting in 6 Revivals worth of healing, which is an insane amount of burst healing. So as an example, I'll press it here, and then my next global will be Essence Font. You can see this little green glowy effect that happens. It actually does have kind of a range to it. You can pretty easily outrange this ability, so you want to make sure you're in a group of people when you press it. And if you keep pressing it, you can see it's not just the first Essence Font, it's every Essence Font that you press while your Weapons of Order is active. And if you're pressing them back to back to back, you can end up getting 3 off. I don't know how many abilities or mechanics need this much burst healing, but I can see this feeling really, really good with, let's say you get an Innervate from a Boomkin or another Resto Druid, and you can get off your 10,000 mana Covenant ability, your 7,200 mana Essence Font, and then maybe a few Vivifies in there with the increased mastery. So I don't know if this is going to be the Covenant of choice, but it feels pretty good to use if you need the AoE burst healing. The other thing that's nice about it is it requires no ramp. You'll know that most of Mistweaver's playstyle involves keeping your Renewing Mist up so that if you need to do big healing, you can just Vivify Cleave off of your party. But this Essence Font, maybe if you get caught without your Renewing Mist up, if you're DPSing and then some heavy burst damage comes in, you can just pop your Weapon of Order, pop your Essence Font, and it immediately does a ton of burst healing. And it's on a fairly short cooldown, but again, it costs 10,000 mana, so the difficult part of this is going to be managing your mana. I would like to see maybe some better mana management for Mistweavers. There's still some stuff yet to come with legendaries and hopefully more conduits that will hopefully aid that, since the removal of Azurite and essences. One thing I didn't get to show off in the Druid video that I'm going to show off here is the conduits. So I've just chosen a tree here. This tree it auto uses my health stones when I fall below 35% health, which is nice because I never forget or remember to use them. It also summons this big dude after I use 120 abilities. It's hard to measure how good this stuff is because it's all subject to tweaks, and there's not a lot of good diagnosis tools on beta yet, but it seems cool, I guess. But the one cool thing you'll notice with the conduit system is you also have customizable conduits here. There's 3 different types. There's Finesse, Endurance, and Potency. And depending on the tree that you choose, you'll get a different amount of each. For example, this one has 1 Potency, 1 Finesse, and 2 Endurance. And you get to choose from a pool of different conduits. I don't know exactly how they're unlocked or how you get them, but in beta you have everything available to you. So I've just picked some. So for instance, this one, it reduces the cooldown on Revival every time you use Rising Sun Kick, and also gives a hot to Revival. So it feels actually really, really good to be able to customize your character's build and your spells to your liking. I think they're definitely at the very highest level, there'll be a correct conduit path or whatever to choose, but for 99% of players, this is just going to be a fun way to change how your character plays. Maybe you never use Rising Sun Kick because you want to focus more on healing, so this wouldn't be one that's necessarily for you, and you might choose another one. So like another one here is the Vivify one. When you cast it on yourself, it has a chance to refund its cost. So let's say you ramp a bunch of Renewing Mists up. Normally you would just be pressing Vivify on the lowest health target, but this actually may make it so you want to cast Vivify on yourself. That way you have a chance to refund that mana back and heal more, let's say if you're taking damage as well. I really, really like this conduit system. It seems like a great way to customize your character. The one downside I have to it is there's not a lot of variety in what you can choose. So right now there's only 16 of them on beta. I hope they add more so that you can pick and choose different things. The one problem is the 16 is only for monks. So keep in mind there are some, like for instance this one that changes Black Ox statue, or this one that changes Celestial Brew. So even though there are 16, really you may only get to use 8 to 10 of them. And since you have 4 of them that you get to pick from, there's not a whole lot of variety, but I would love to see if they're very, very thorough and they added tons and each class had like 30 or 40. Maybe I'm being a little bit too hopeful here, but I can see a ton of customization and variety in this system if they make it work really well. But that's mostly it that I wanted to cover in the Mistweaver video, at least in its current state in Shadowlands beta. I hope to update you guys when legendaries come out or maybe some new conduits or stuff, but for now that's it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you left me a like and subscribe to my channel. I want to cover all the healers in Shadowlands, as well as hopefully some guides and more specific info when the game's about to release, and also tons of high-level Mythic Plus content for the current expansion BFA, and then hopefully soon going into Shadowlands as well. Happy keying.